Hey you guys, Mrs. Inzalaco here. I'm going to read out loud your first assessment for ecology. Even though you can use Claro Read to read it out loud for you, I'd like to personally read this. While I'm reading, I'm going to give you some hints, and I'm also going to narrow down each of the choices to 2 choices, so you have a 50% chance of getting each question right. All right, the first question is the non-living parts of an environment, such as rocks, air, temperature, sunlight, and water. Now, when you were doing your, when you were clicking through the website links and tabs, I hope that 2 major terms stuck out to you. This is kind of the theme of this week's stuff. The 2 terms I hope that stick out are abiotic and biotic. So please remember that abiotic means not living, and biotic means living or once living. So please keep these 2 terms in mind for the first 2 questions. So again, the first question is the non-living parts of the environment, such as rocks, air, temperature, sunlight, and water. The 2 choices I'm going to give you is either abiotic or habitat. Number 2, the living or once living organisms in an ecosystem. Again, please reference these 2 terms. The 2 choices I'm going to narrow it down for you are biology or biotic. The living or once living organisms. Your answer should be either biology or biotic. The third question. This group of organisms are made of autotrophs. Think about the word autotrophs and the prefix auto. Auto means self. Kind of like autobiography means a story about yourself. So think about what self means. Troph means to make food. So essentially, autotrophs means they make their own food. So this group of organisms are made of autotrophs who make their own food. Is your answer either going to be producers or tertiary consumers? Your answer should be either producers or tertiary consumers. The next question, these organisms must eat to obtain their energy. So they can't make their own energy, they have to eat something to obtain their energy. So for this question, the 2 answers I will narrow it down to for you are heterotrophs or niche. So the answer should either be heterotrophs or niche. Number 5. All the living and non-living things in an area, biotic and abiotic. What is that referred to? The 2 choices I will narrow this down to are ecosystem or biome. Ecosystem or biome. The next question. What is true about ecosystems with very high biodiversity? The 2 choices I'm going to narrow it down for you are they are unstable and threatened by environmental changes, or they are more stable and are more likely to survive environmental changes. So I'm going to narrow that one down to the first 2 choices for you. The next question, how does biodiversity increase ecosystem stability? Keep in mind, you guys, biodiversity means that there's a lot of different types of plants and animals. So keep that in mind. How does having lots of different types of plants and animals increase ecosystem stability? So it is either I'm going to narrow it down to the last 2 choices for you. Is it either it increased the amount of producers that are available for food, or there are more resources and more connections on the food web? It's either going to be the last 2 choices there. All right, third to last question here. Which organisms are the first to move into an ecosystem after a major disturbance? I'm going to narrow that down to the second or the third choices. It's either small herbivores like insects and mice, or simple producers such as grass and moss. Which organisms are the first to move into an ecosystem after a major disturbance? I'm going to narrow it down to the middle two for you. Is it either small herbivores like insects or mice, or simple producers such as grass and moss? All right, second to last question. Why do we track the population of producers when we look at ecological succession? I'm going to narrow it down to the last two choices for you. Is it because without producers you cannot have consumers? Or because plants are the only organisms affected by environmental disturbances? Why do we track the population of producers when we look at ecological succession? I'm going to narrow it down to the last two choices for you. And the very last question. Which group contains terms that are all directly associated with the large fish shown in the diagram? Notice the large fish is eating the smaller fish. So which group contains the terms that are directly associated with the large fish shown in the diagram? I'm going to narrow it down to the first two choices for you. Is that large fish herbivore, prey, autotroph, and host? Or is that large fish carnivore, predator, heterotroph, and multicellular? Which group of terms is true for that large fish? Either choice 1 or choice 2. Good luck, you guys!